Hey guys. If someone can just hop in chat and just let me know that they can hear me okay. We will get started in just a second. All right, somebody go to chat. All right, awesome. Cool. Let's get going then. All right, so instead of doing our normal breathing sitting cross-legged, I'm actually going to suggest that everyone sits just on their knees. So sort of like an upright child's pose kind of situation. And I want to do this just to give our quads a little gentle stretch and then also start working on our ankle flexion a little bit. So make your way into that position and close your eyes. Hands can just kind of sit on your thighs here. Still think about being nice and upright, straight. Think about the crown of your head having that cord from the ceiling. And we'll just take a few breaths like this. Just sort of letting ourselves sink into this position. It's kind of nice to just kind of switch things up and try something new every once in a while. So yeah, we'll give this a shot. And think about your breathing again. I know it's been a few days since we've done yoga, so we're really remembering that in through the nose, out through the nose. But when we do inhale, we're really thinking about letting our belly expand out. And then when we exhale, letting all the air go. And when you're sitting like this, you can almost feel a little bit more because your hips are probably, or your pelvis is probably doing the same kind of tilt that we do in cat-cow almost. So as you expand your belly, you're kind of almost going into that cow where your pelvis kind of starts shifting backwards. And then when you exhale everything, it's actually kind of almost contracting inward a little bit. So just play with how that feels. And we'll take another few breaths, but as we do that, I want you to actually switch so you go from being on your knees with your feet or with your toes against the ground to just come up a little bit and let your toes sort of go so you actually have the bottoms of your toes are on the ground now. So we're sitting a little more upright. And just do this for a couple breaths, just to kind of stretch kind of backwards, get your feet and ankles a little flexed in the other direction. Sort of work our toes, because again, this is a direction our toes don't naturally get put in very often. So just a couple more breaths here. Still thinking about sitting nice and upright, looking straight ahead. All right, let's release that and come back to our normal cross-legged position that we always do. And of course, we're gonna switch it up. So go to the awkward way. Settle in here, maybe lift up your pelvic bones a little bit and just reset them, or your sit bones. Reset them. It's actually pretty interesting during yoga to kind of get an awareness of your sit bones because, again, as cyclists, we spend a lot of time on them in the saddle. So the more aware you can be of them, the easier it is to kind of find A, a saddle that's comfortable for you, and then B, to be able to shift into a position that's more comfortable for you when you are pedaling, once you have a saddle that actually fits. All right, so let's think about sitting up nice and tall, shoulders down and relaxed. Head is getting pulled toward the ceiling, you're getting taller. And we're gonna bring that right hand up in the air. We're gonna bring it back onto the ground behind us. Left hand comes to our right knee, and we're gonna look over that right shoulder. Using that left hand to kind of tug a little bit on the right knee to get a little deeper. And breathe. As always, we want to breathe through all of these. It's sort of tempting to start holding your breath here because it's a little more awkward. Think about, can you be sitting a little bit straighter up? Can you get a little bit deeper into this without starting to hunch? And release that left hand. Bring it on up and over and tilt toward your left. Use your right, or use your left hand for balance. Really think about that stretch. You should feel it on your right rib cage. Maybe look up at the ceiling. Think about, even though we're tipped over, we want to still be straight. So it's almost like that cord is now pulling from where the ceiling and the wall meet. So we don't want to be slouched over like this. We want to be nice and straight. And bring her back through center. Give it a little shake. All right. And let's bring our left hand up in the air and send it back behind us. Right hand comes to our left knee and look over that left shoulder. Nice deep breaths. Really thinking about sitting up nice and tall, even though we're twisted, we can still be nice and upright. Don't let your shoulders cave in. Think about broad, strong shoulders here. And release that left hand, bring it up and over, tilt to the right. Again, think about not slouching into it, but really staying upright but tilted, if that makes sense. Then maybe look up at the ceiling. Keep breathing. The more you can focus on breathing in these sort of easier positions, then the easier it is to keep breathing when you're, in that awkward plank and it sucks and we're stuck there for a little longer than you'd maybe prefer. And bring it back through center and shake it out. All right, let's come on over onto our hands and knees. And since it's Monday, we're gonna do a little bit more core today. So we're gonna start with some bird dogs. All right, so you wanna get that left hand really firm onto the mat. Make sure your fingers are spread pretty wide. Palm is all the way down, really pressing in. And then do sort of the same with your right shin and top of your foot and knee. Just make sure they're really firm, really strong on the ground there, because surprise, surprise, we're gonna bring our right arm straight out in front of us. And then we're gonna bring our left leg straight out behind us. And I want you to think about the right fingers are reaching for the wall in front of you and your left foot is reaching for the wall behind you. So you're almost feeling like you're getting taller, you're being stretched in two different directions, while still thinking about a really strong left hand, left arm, and right leg, right hip, right quad. All right, we're gonna bring our right elbow and our left knee both in, squeeze them together, really tighten up your core here, and send them back out straight. And every time we send them back out straight, still really think about stretching them. Don't just kind of schlump them straight. Bring it back in, and send them out. And bring them in. Send it back out straight. Two more. Bring it in. And straighten. Really stretch. Last one, bring it in. Hold it really tight. Everything nice and tight. And straighten it out. And bonus points, we're gonna send our right arm out towards our right and our left leg out towards our left. We're gonna challenge our balance a little bit. Bring it back to center. One more time. Bring them out to the sides. And back to center. And hand comes down, knee comes down. Press it back into child's pose. Hang out for a couple breaths. A bit of a core wake up there. Come back to your nice slow in through the nose, out through the nose breathing. If you can master doing that, you're going to be able to get your heart rate down during races. So always a good thing to practice. All right, let's come on back up. We're going to reset. This time we're going to think about making our right hand really strong on the mat and our left knee, shin, and top of our foot really strong on the mat. And all right, Right leg comes out behind us. Think about stretching it straight back. Left arm comes out in front of us. Think about stretching that forward like you're being pulled in 2 different directions. Hold it. Feel your core start to engage. And bring them in, elbow to knee. Really think about tightening your core up here. And then using your core, send it back out straight. Really stretching here. And bring them in. And out straight. Bring it in. And out. 2 more. Bring it in. And send it back out. Last one, nice and strong. Bring it in. Hold everything nice and tight. Keep breathing. Send it out. All right, so our left arm is going to go out toward our left. Our right foot is going to come out to the right. Really feel that in the right hip there. And back to center. One more time. Right leg comes out, left arm goes out. And back to center. Set them down, press it back into child's pose. Phew. And really concentrate now on dropping your heart rate down by breathing nice and slow in through the nose and out through the nose. Start to feel how your breath influences your heart rate. Again, it's one of the best things we can do as athletes. All right, let's come on back up into tabletop. And we're just gonna run through just a couple little cat-cows. So, as we talked about last week, instead of thinking about arching our back for cat, what I want you to really think about is dropping your hips and then letting your head drop and your chest drop. And that's how you get into cat instead of thinking about just letting your back arch. So it's basically the same exact movement, but we're just changing the focus. And then to shift into cow, we're gonna start letting our hips come on back up. We're gonna let our chest come up and our chin come up. And again, our stomach's just gonna kind of drop as a result of that. But the movement should really all be coming from your hips and your chest. And slowly make your way back into cat. And then start bringing your chest up, chin up, hips up. And we'll do that one more time. Let your hips drop, chest drop, chin drop into cat. And then let your hips come on back up, chest comes up, chin comes up, back into cow. And then come into a neutral tabletop one more time. All right, we're just gonna do a couple of the circle flows, just to kind of start warming up and getting kind of up to standing. All right, so we're gonna drop our hips, drop our chest, drop our chin into cat. And then hips come up, chest comes up, chin comes up on into that cow. We're gonna tuck our toes. We're gonna pop our knees up. And then we're gonna press our hips up and back, straightening out our legs. We're gonna come back into downward dog. Just stay here for a quick breath. See how it feels. If you've been doing yoga with us for these past weeks, think about how it felt the first time we did it versus how it feels now. Might feel better, might feel worse, depending on what you're up to this weekend. And then we're gonna slither it forward into a plank. We're gonna drop our knees, toes come out, and press it back into child's pose. Now for this next one, come on back up into tabletop, and what I'm gonna suggest you do is not move your hands and feet. Even if it's tempting to for plank and downward dog, they might feel a little awkward to keep your hands and feet in place, but just kind of make it so you are just doing this circle without actually moving anything on the mat other than, well, basically moving your knees off the mat is the only thing that's gonna change. All right, let's drop our hips, drop our chins, drop our chests into cat. And then hips come up, chest comes up, chin comes up into cow. Tuck your toes, pop your knees, press it up and back into downward dog. Not shifting your feet, not moving your hands. And then hover forward into our plank. Might be kind of awkward. You might feel like you're kind of a little too far over your hands. I definitely am, but it's a great stretch for my wrists. And drop your knees, toes come out, press it back into child's pose. And then we'll slowly just make our way on up to standing, the back of our mats. All right, let's get into some sun salutations. First, let's just get nice and grounded in our strong mountain pose. So we're gonna maybe roll our shoulders back one time, let them come down. Hands are just out to our sides. That might mean your palms are actually more out facing the wall in front of you instead of down on your sides. Lift your toes up and then bring them all back down onto the mat. Really press them in. Nice and strong. Looking forward, chin is at a nice 90-degree angle with your neck. All right, we're gonna inhale. We're gonna sweep our arms up. We're gonna look up. Just let ourselves come into a tiny little back bend. And then on our next exhale, we're gonna swan dive our arms forward, come all the way down into whatever kind of forward fold is comfortable for you. On your next inhale, just flatten your back to make a nice 90-degree angle with your legs. And then exhale it back into a forward fold. We're gonna walk our fingers forward into our plank. We're gonna hold it here for a second. Then we're actually going to shift onto the side of our left foot. If it's available to you, we're gonna stack our right foot on top and bring our right hand up in the air for our side plank. Maybe look up at the ceiling if you want to challenge your balance. Maybe you can raise that right foot off the left foot so it's in the air. And if you need to, you can put your leg behind you or your right foot behind you or in front of you. For some better balance if you need it. And remember to keep breathing. 2 more breaths. Last one. Bring that right hand back down to the mat. Move your feet so you're back on your toes in your regular plank and slowly lower all the way to the ground. And let your toes come out. Okay, we're gonna bring our arms straight in front of us. We're just gonna do one locust. So on our next inhale, we're gonna inhale everything up except for our hips. We've got this. Ready? All right, inhale it up. You're a bird, you're a plane. You're Superman or Supergirl or Superdog or whatever member of the super family you wanna be. Keep breathing. One more breath. And release. Hands come back to either side of your chest. Take one more breath. Tuck your toes. And press it up into plank. And back into downward dog. This time we'll hang out here for a few breaths. So start thinking about slow pedaling your feet. Think about sending your butt more up and back to where the wall and the ceiling meet. Head should be nice and relaxed. And we're gonna slither forward back into our plank. Bad news, we gotta do the other side as far as side planks go. So we're gonna start shifting onto the right side or the outside of our right foot. Left hand comes up in the air, stack that left foot on top of the right foot. And maybe this is enough of a challenge. Maybe you actually need to put your foot or your left foot behind you or in front of you to get a little more balance. If this is super easy, maybe look up at the ceiling. Maybe lift that left leg up in the air. Whatever you do, just keep breathing. Go up being nice and strong. Core should be activated. 2 more breaths. Last one. And left hand comes down, spin those toes back so you're in a regular plank, and slow race all the way to the ground. Toes come out, and arms come straight in front of you. And deep breath. We'll just take a second here, catch our breath. I know side planks are a little rough. All right, let's do one more locust. Everybody ready? All right, let's inhale it up. You're a bird, you're a plane. Not gonna give you the plot of like Batman versus Superman because frankly, I was not a huge fan of that movie. Don't really like the Superman genre as a whole, but works really well for discussing this pose. All right, you're flying, you're flying, you're starting to land, you're thinking about landing, you're down. Relax everything. Bring your cheek down to the mat. And we're just gonna take 3 or 4 breaths here. Just let your body relax. Check in with your breathing. Really feel your belly expanding and contracting against the mat. We don't really do a lot of breathing on our stomachs, but it's a really good way to test how full you can get your belly and to see where your breath is kind of naturally going. All right, let's bring our hands back to either side of our chest, tuck our toes, press it up into plank, back into downward dog. Pause for a couple breaths. Maybe pedal your feet, check in with if one calf is tighter than the other. And we're just gonna slowly walk our feet up to meet our hands. Hands back to meet our feet in a forward fold. Let your head relax. And then we're just gonna slow race all the way up to standing, vertebra by vertebra. Slowly make your way on up. Head is the last thing to come up. Awesome. All right, let's do some balance challenging here. So I want you to think about your left foot. I want you to pick it up. Then I want you to set it back down. And when you set it down, I want you to think about bringing each individual toe back down to the mat. We're really rooting it in place. I apologize for the tree pun. All right, now that we've done that, we're gonna bring our right foot up to the side of our left ankle. And this might be enough of a balance challenge for someone, and that's totally fine. It's honestly a pretty good one. If this is super easy, you can start thinking about bringing your right leg up a little bit more. What I really want you to think about is, and I'll turn to the side for this, is not bringing it so that your right leg starts coming out forward. I really want you to think about opening up that right hip. So it should always be where you can't actually see my right leg at this angle because it's straight out. If you come high enough that you can see it, like this, that's too high. Really think about having it out. So this isn't just a balance stretch, it's not just a balance, it's also a stretch for our right hip. It's a hip opener. All right, so once you find your happy place there, focus on a spot in front of you. Head should be straight ahead, looking at something that is not moving. So I am probably not the target you want to be staring at right now. And then you can bring your hands to whatever position is going to be ideal for you, whether it's in prayer hands in front of you. Maybe you do some tree branch situations with your hands up and out. Maybe you want to go a little more cactusy with some cactus arms. Whatever floats your boat today. And remember to breathe. Really focus on that left foot. If you find that you have sort of burning ankles right now, really think about pressing into your left toes. And keep pressing that right hip or the right knee, almost sending it back so that you're creating that nice straight line. And let's release that right foot. Phew. Shake out that left foot, left ankle. And we're gonna reset. So this time, lift your right foot a little bit off the ground, then bring it back down. Think about setting the right toes, really digging them in, planting them, rooting them. Apologies for the puns. Okay, once you're rooted in place, left foot comes to the side of our ankle. Again, thinking about this nice straight line here. If I jumped up against a wall, I would be able to be all the way in front of a wall. I would not have my knee in the way blocking me. And start to bring it up to wherever you can go, where your hip is still opening. When it starts to close because your knee starts to come in, that's too far. We're going to focus on the opening. It's just as hard to balance like this as it is to balance with it up higher. Hands can do whatever they want. Prayer hands, hands like a tree, hands out to the sides, hands like a cactus, whatever works for you right now. And think about focusing on a point straight ahead of you. Keep your gaze straight, chin nice and high. Shoulders are relaxed. Keep breathing, keep sending that left knee back to keep opening that left hip. That might make you wobble a little, that's fine. Really think about those right toes pressing into the mat. That's what's going to keep you upright. Keep breathing. Think about your core being super engaged right now. Maybe you even make yourself feel a little bit taller. Try to really straighten. It's tempting to have your right hip start popping here, but think about sending it so it's nice and straight. And release. Shake out that right foot. Phew. All right, let's come back to the end of our mat here. Whew. And deep breath, inhale your arms up, look up, tiny little back bend. And on your next exhale, swan dive it forward, come to that forward fold. And relax. Maybe after that tree, you maybe even want to bend your knees a little bit to give your calves a break. Inhale, straighten your legs, straighten your back, make that nice 90-degree angle. And exhale, let it all go. And walk your hands forward into our plank. And slow race down to the ground. Toes come out. And we're going to bring our hands far and wide of the mat. And on our next inhale, we're going to press it on up into a little tiny baby cobra. Really focus on breathing here. Your ribs should, the bottom of your ribs should just be touching the mat. And really think about filling your belly with air And sort of letting gravity do its job. Letting all the air out on your exhale. Make sure your shoulders are down and relaxed. And slowly lower your chest back down to the mat. Hands come back to either side of your chest. Tuck your toes. And press it on up into plank. Back into downward dog. Take 3 breaths here. So pedal those feet. Think about sending that butt up and back towards where the ceiling meets the wall. Letting your heels just gently drop. We're still just letting gravity do its work there. We're not pressing them. We're not forcing them. And let's bring that right leg up in the air. And then we're going to bring the right knee up between our hands. We're going to let our shin come down, top of our foot come down, and then we're going to let our left leg come out and back on the mat. Top of our foot comes down on the mat. So we're in sort of our high pigeon. Think about sitting up nice and tall. It's actually a really good precursor to doing a full Cobra. And think about rocking just a little bit side to side here. I know normally we come down in our pigeon, and we're going to, but I want everyone to just think about this tall pigeon first. Keep breathing here. And maybe even think about that left, or bending at your left knee and almost reaching your head back just a little bit. Just for a little bit of extra spiciness in our back bend. If that bothers your low back, just bring that left leg back down. And wherever you're at, bring that left leg back down. And then you can either stay like this in our nice taller pigeon, or you can start working your hands forward, maybe coming down on your elbows, maybe making a little nest for your head on your fists or in your hands. Maybe your head comes all the way down to the mat. Wherever you feel like you're getting the best stretch in your right hip. But wherever you're at, I'm just going to encourage you to keep just rocking just a tiny bit, little micro movements, just millimeters, centimeters. Nothing major, but just keep working into that hip joint. You might notice new little spots that are, ooh, that's a little spicy today, and that's totally fine, totally normal. Well, we just want to keep working through our whole range of motion in that hip joint. And of course, use your breathing as sort of that cue to just go a little bit deeper. And I mean, you might not actually get any deeper. It's more a feeling of just sinking into it. So for every inhale, you'll probably feel a little bit of a rise. And then on every exhale, just let yourself just sink, fall just a little bit more. Two more breaths. And then slowly lift your head on back up. Maybe start moving your hands back onto the mat. Coming on up, so we're back to that nice upright pigeon. We're gonna tuck our back toes. We're gonna lift our back knee to give us some space, and then we're gonna step it back into plank, and then slow race back down to the ground. Let your toes come out. We're gonna bring our hands far and wide, and then maybe just bring them in a little bit more if you feel as though that is the thing you should do. Baby Cobra, still totally fine. But if you're ready for a preteen Cobra, go ahead and press it on up. Again, if you need to have your shoulders up by your ears, then you're too deep into Cobra and you should back it off. This should feel relaxing, not stressful. Keep breathing. And I'm sure, I realize I say keep breathing a lot, and I'm sure most of you are in fact breathing, but I bet you anything that a couple of you, when I've said that at any given time, are like, oh yeah, have not done that in like 15 seconds. So even if you don't necessarily need the cue at that exact moment, it's good to just keep remembering to keep breathing. And slowly bring it back down. Tuck your toes, hands come back to your chest, press it up into plank, and back into downward dog. Take 3 breaths here. Really pedal into both feet. And then take at least 1 breath where you're not pedaling your feet and you're just letting them naturally find their spot for today, whether it's a few inches from the ground, whether your heels actually hit the ground, wherever you're at, that's right for you. And let's bring that left leg up and back in the air. And then bring that left knee up between your hands, shin comes out, toes come out onto the mat. Bring your right leg down, right toes come out onto the mat. And we're in our nice upright pigeon posture. Think about dropping your shoulders. Chin is nice and proud, not tilted up, but just looking straight ahead of us. You might need to be on your fingertips for this. And think about both that lower back sort of build into a full Cobra stretch you're getting here. Then also think about sinking into both hips, not tilting toward the left, just letting both hips drop. And if you want to add a little bit more stretch, you can bend that right knee and then maybe tilt your head back just a little bit. Sort of a mini half bow, we'll say. And remembering to breathe when you're there, especially because when you're like this, you're sort of cutting off a bit of your ability to take in good breath. So it's more important than ever to just keep breathing really slowly and mindfully. And let that right leg come back down and out if you haven't already. And then start walking your hands forward to whatever iteration of pigeon best suits you for the day. Whether it's making that little nest for your head or letting your arms come all the way out in front of you and head comes down to the mat. Whatever your comfortable place is, just keep going with those slow little micro movements from side to side, really working into that left hip joint. And again, with every inhale, you're rising up just a tiny bit. And then with every exhale, think about sinking in just a little bit more. And again, sinking in does not necessarily mean actually getting any lower. It might mean just finding that slightly deeper, relaxed feeling in the joint, feeling in the muscles. Might actually mean you get a couple millimeters lower. Might even just feel like you're a couple millimeters lower. Maybe just get a little bit deeper into the stretch, not necessarily physically, more mentally. And just keep moving. Just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly start to walk your hands on back up till they're at either side of your knee. We're going to tuck our back toes under, lift our back knee to give us some space. Step it back into plank. Hold it here for just a couple breaths. Think about that nice, strong plank. Core is active. Pretty much everything is active, honestly, in plank. Just going to take 10 more seconds here. Keep breathing. Nice and slow and steady. Try to actually not let your heart rate get up at all while you're doing this. One more good breath. And drop your knees, toes come out, press it back into child's pose. And relax. And while we're here, we're just going to take our left hand and we're going to thread our left arm under our right armpit. And just lean just a tiny bit to your left, just to get into that left shoulder joint. Planks are pretty, tough on the shoulders, I'm not going to lie. So give ourselves a little stretch here. While we start thinking about the fact that it's almost time for Shavasana. Hooray! And release that left hand. And switch it. Right arm comes under our left arm. And maybe tilt just a tiny bit to your right. Just enough to get a stretch in your right shoulder, not enough to hurt. And if you can, head comes down to the mat. And release that right arm. And now we're actually just going to crawl our arms over toward our right side. We're going to let our head sort of nestle in on our right shoulder here. And just walk them until you can feel a stretch on your left side. And breathe into it. This is another good one to practice that every exhale, just dropping a little bit deeper. This is one where you actually can physically almost find that you are, in fact, able to drop deeper on the exhale. Since every time we exhale, we're clearing a little more space in our bellies to get a little deeper onto our thighs. Good chance to practice how that feels. And then slowly start to walk your hands back towards center. And then once they get there, just reverse direction and head on over toward your left side. Head is going to nestle sort of into that right shoulder. And find a spot where you're getting a really good stretch on your left side. Or sorry, on your right side. And breathe and just think about that sinking in feeling. Start letting go of some tension, maybe even let that left shoulder just drop. And slowly start to curl your hands back to center. Come on up. And then find your comfortable Shavasana spot, whether it's lying on the mat or moving on over to a wall and getting your legs up the wall. And as always, when you put your legs up the wall, you don't have to have your butt right against the wall. Sort of find where is going to be comfortable and relaxing for you. For some people, going straight up against the wall is actually going to be just a lot for their hamstrings. So find a place where you feel like you're getting the benefits of having your legs up without the stretch of your hamstrings. Arms come out to your sides, and we're just going to close our eyes and just take some deep breaths, just about 10 or so. I'm just gonna hang out here for a minute. I'm not gonna say anything, but just do yourself the favor of taking just the 60 seconds to relax. And slowly start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Come back to awake mode. And if your legs are up the wall, maybe pull them into your chest. Give yourself a little hug as you then tip over to your right side. And wherever you're at, slowly make your way on back up to sitting. And take one last deep breath. All right, awesome job today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, this is a really fun way to start my week, so I appreciate you all being here. And hopefully see you Wednesday at 4 or next Monday at 11. All right, namaste. Have a great rest of your day, guys.